Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibis, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It is Thursday. We are on day 6 of testimony. Melanie Gibb on the stand. We're going to get to all that. But first, if you're watching on YouTube, you know the drill. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, and you can ring my bell if you want notifications of when I post new content. Just click that little bell icon. Music fact of the day: the Sugar Hill Gang did not know each other before they recorded the hit song Rapper's Delight. They were brought together for a collaboration that was meant to save the Sugar Hill recording studio from bankruptcy. Don't forget, all merchandise 10% off. If you use the code Sherlock10, go over and check it out. I'm adding new stuff every single day this week, getting ready for summer, and I love designing. So go check it out and see if there's anything you like. I'm going to put this on the screen because I didn't yesterday, but I made a little joke on Twitter that Chad finally turned dark. We're going to pick back up with FBI agent Michael Douglas, who was still on the stand from yesterday. He starts off going through the Venmo transactions beginning in January of 2019. That's the month all of this started hitting the fan. The funding source for that Venmo was Tylee's JP Morgan account. That was active from January 7th through August 7th as far as the Venmo goes. She sent money to Colby and also to Colby's wife, Kelsey, as well as 2 friends. The number of payments Tylee sent to Colby were $170 total. That was over 4 separate transactions. That change in the funding source came on September 10th, the day after Tylee was buried. There was Venmo activity after Tylee was killed. On September 10th to February 18, there were 29 Venmo payments sent to Colby for a total of $5,940. They move on August 15th, 2019. Those glow-in-the-dark malachite rings that Lori bought on Etsy for $259, that was refunded because the owner couldn't make those in time. The email she used to order those was the Lollytime iCloud account. On Cross, they bring up a phone Chad bought before he met Lori. Pryor says it's an inexpensive way to have 2 phones, and if you're having an affair, it's an ideal way to hide it. They kind of go back and forth, and the witness is like, well, I never bought one for that reason. Pryor gets rude and says, I didn't ask if you did. There's no indication there was commingling of money between Lori and Chad. And John Pryor points out Lori got the life insurance policy for Joe before she met Chad. He also points out Lori and Chad were in a relationship, and still, Lori put that $2 million life insurance policy in only Colby's name and not Chad's. He says he found it unusual that the witness included the search for south-southwest wind direction and didn't include the text about the burning of the limbs. There was an objection that was sustained. Mr. Pryor says the search for wind isn't relevant regarding the financial transactions made by Tylee, which was the subject of his testimony. The defense asks, when you say Lori was gone, were you aware Lori was temporarily relocating to Hawaii? The witness says she was actually coming and going, but can't prove that she relocated in the 1st of February of 2019. The defense points out that the life insurance policy for Tammy was put into place in 2002. The witness points out that was increased on October 8th, the day before the attempt on Tammy. Chad's attorney says that was actually after her probationary period at her job as a librarian, and that was when she was able to increase it, and they chose to do so. On redirect, Rob Wood's up for the prosecution. He reminds the witness Chad was aware Lori was getting at least $4,000 in Social Security. There was the text where she said this to Chad. And also, he points out they lived together in Hawaii. Next up, Melanie Gibb. She met Chad before she met Lori. She met Lori at a church Melanie Gibb was giving a class at. Lori approached her, and they became fast friends. She went to Lori to the speaking event in St. George, Utah, which is where Lori and Chad met. There were 5 or 6 of them that went to that together in the same car. She said Chad was there to sell his books and also to give a talk. Gibb and Lori walked in together, and she can't remember if she introduced Lori to Chad or if Lori introduced herself. But at that conference, she saw that Lori and Chad were communicating a lot. They were very interested in talking about things they were learning about. and they were very focused on each other and they seemed to be attracted to one another, and that kind of caught her attention. Gibb did meet Charles a couple of times. She never met Tammy. Chad and Lori talked about multiple lives, and Lori would talk about how many lives she had lived on this earth and that she was married to Moroni in a previous life. Before meeting Chad, she had mentioned multiple lives. Chad expanded on that and told her other things, and also said they had been married in previous probations, and Lori was very receptive to that. She met Tylee and JJ at Lori's house in Arizona. She said Lori and Tylee had a difficult relationship and they didn't get along very well. As far as JJ, Lori had a lot of affection for him, but he was autistic and he was just very busy for Lori. In the beginning, Gibb and Lori talked mostly every day for a month or two. After January is when Lori started moving around a lot, so they did lose touch a bit during that time period. After that conference in October where Lori and Chad met, Gibb saw Chad again in November in Arizona. He was in town for a conference, and of course, Tammy was not there. Chad was at Lori's house there in Arizona for that gathering of a group of small people who met up before the conference. She estimated maybe 20 people were there, mostly Lori and her friends. Lori told Gibb that her and Chad were going to be resealed in the temple like they had been in previous lives. She said they did go to the temple. It was about a month after they met. Chad did stay at Lori's house that weekend. Other people did as well, but Chad was the only man there. Charles was out of town. Lori would turn to Chad for advice, and she would call and get information from Chad, and then she would share that information with Gibb and the other people in this group. As far as light and dark, Gibb was told of this concept by Lori. Lori was told of this by Chad. Lori said if someone was a light spirit, they had made a contract with Jesus before coming to earth. If you were a dark spirit, you made a contract with Satan. As far as multiple probations, people live multiple lives, and Lori would find out when in time that was. There was the rating system to identify light and dark spirits. Lori would ask Chad, and then Chad would find out how many times people had been on other planets. As far as people being designated with a number with that light or dark scale, all of that came from Chad. Lori believed her mission was to gather women to be part of the 144,000 and that she would be the leader of that. Gibb goes on to explain the 144,000 is a biblical thing. People would gather in the end times and someone would have the authority to lead the masses. As far as Lori, she got the idea from herself that she would be the leader. She talked to Chad about it. And Lori shared with Chad that she was a gatherer of the 144,000, which Chad agreed, and told her that that was her mission. Lori also shared the light dark idea with Serena, Zulema, Alex, Nicole, Christina, Melanie's, and some other people that really weren't significant to this core group. Chad shared the same concept with those people. And Gibb was present when he did. Gibb had heard of these ideas before, but not in the way Chad was teaching them. But Gibb did admit she was open to learning more about their ideas. They also talked about people being able to switch from being a light spirit to a dark spirit. Of course, how that happened, an evil entity would enter the body and the person would become dark. The first time that Lori talked about someone being dark was with Charles. Chad told Lori Charles was dark. They go on to talk about castings, and Lori would do these in order to get the evil spirit out. Lori got the concept of castings through energy work. And so the name Ned Schneider, we've heard that was the first entity that was possessing Charles. That name was given by Chad. We just went through yesterday him doing these Google searches for Ned Schneider. Lori told Gibb about this after Christmas, that Charles and JJ would be in a car accident and they would die. Charles was labeled dark when he didn't die in that accident. Gibb did participate in the castings. They would stand in a circle and would feel they had the power to cast out using words and energy work to get this entity to leave. Some people would say a prayer. They would use spiritual weapons and things of that wackadoodle sort. Lori told Gibb that Chad would say Ned had left shortly after, and then another entity got in. Gibb also learned if the casting was successful, the body would have to die. There were additional castings for Charles, and Gibb participated in those. Chad told Lori the second entity was cast out of Charles, but another came in. There were castings for other people. She did name Brandon Boudreaux. Chad was present at that casting. Lori was told Brandon was dark by Chad. She said Lori and Zulema were most involved in the castings. And Gibb admits she believed to some level that Charles was possessed, and she had met him a handful of times. Right before Charles was shot and killed, Melanie Gibb spent the night at Lori's house. That next morning, Lori asked her to leave, saying that Charles was driving in from Texas and was going to kill her. She told Gibb her brother Alex would be there to protect her. She said Alex and Lori were close, and to her, nothing seemed strange. Also, Chad designated Alex as Lori's protector. Lori told Gibb about the morning he was shot and killed, that Charles came in. He left his cell phone in the car. She got it, went in the house. They were arguing. He was mad, and they were standing in the kitchen, and Charles was threatening her. She mentions Tylee had a bat. Charles and Alex got into a fight. Then Alex goes into his room, grabs his gun, and shoots and kills Charles. Alex shared pretty much the same story with Gibb. There was never any sign of grief with Lori, and she seemed happy Charles was gone. She said Alex was a little more unsure himself about it. After Charles's murder, Gibb saw Chad a couple of weeks later. He was in Arizona at Lori's house. She said Chad and Lori were excited to plan their future together, and when they said this, Tammy was still alive. Before Charles's murder, Lori told Gibb that her and Chad really loved each other. They had a mission to accomplish together. They had been together in multiple lives, and they also had had physical contact since they met in October. Lori thought it was okay they were physical, and she would ask Jesus what was appropriate, and she would act accordingly. They met at hotels for the most part, but we do know Chad did come stay at her house there in Arizona. When Gibb asked Lori why Chad just wouldn't get divorced, Chad told Lori he would lose his exaltations and would be in trouble. As far as phones, she knew Lori had at least 3 at one time. One was personal, one was for Chad, and she wasn't really sure what that third phone was for. Lori told Gibb about prior lives. Lori said she had been married to Moroni. In one life, she was Chad's wife. He was James, who was an apostle of Jesus, and she was Elena. In one life, Chad was Methuselah, and she was Chad's daughter. She was also in another life a lady married to a relative of Joseph Smith. Gibb said Chad would sit in his portal and ask questions to get answers. She said she saw Lori's portal. And so I'm thinking, all right, was it decorated? And then Gibb's like, it was a spot in her closet. Chad told her it was a portal and taught her how to use it, y'all. I could not get in my portal because I got too many clothes in there. Lori told Gibb she went to Rexburg to be with Chad and start their missions together. Lori told Gibb that Tammy was dark, and Lori was told that by Chad. She talked to Lori after the move to Idaho. Lori was in the townhome and she was playing games with Alex and Tylee. That would have been that first week in September because we know Tylee wasn't there nearly a week before she was murdered. A few days before JJ was killed, Gibb went to Idaho for a conference with her now husband, David Warwick. They were also going to record a podcast with Lori. Melanie and her then boyfriend, David Warwick, stayed at Lori's townhouse. Lori was the one that picked her up from the airport, and JJ and Alex were at the townhouse for the most part when she was there. Chad would occasionally stop by. At this point, Tylee was dead. Lori told Gibb that Tylee was at BYUI and had a roommate. That was the last mention of Tylee while Gibb was there. In fact, Gibb stayed in Tylee's room part of the time. She said there was only furniture in there, but no sign of Tylee, no clothes, nothing. Lori told Gibb the day before Gibb got into town, JJ turned dark. She also had told Gibb previously that Tylee was dark. Gibb said that JJ seemed fine that weekend, but Lori said Chad told her that JJ was dark. The day after she arrived in Idaho, Chad was there, and she saw JJ and Chad interacting. JJ was upset, so Chad took him upstairs, and when they came back down later, Chad was holding JJ's hand, and Chad had a red scratch on his neck. Chad said that JJ scratched him. Now, if you think about this, Chad Daybell's around 6'3". It doesn't show that much on camera, but the way I picture it, and trigger warning, the way that might have happened is if he's trying to hold JJ down. It's very haunting to think about that poor kid. Her boyfriend asked questions about Tammy, and Chad said Tammy was a good wife. Then Gibb can't remember what else was said about her. Chad and Lori were affectionate while they were in town. She said they would sing and dance together. The three of them walked around the BYU Idaho campus, and Lori and Chad were holding hands. She said they weren't worried Tammy would see them or find out because Tammy wasn't aware of Chad's personal life and where he went and with who. September 22nd had a special meaning for Lori. That was the anniversary of when she saw Moroni in the temple. That's also the last day Gibb saw JJ alive. They were recording a podcast. Alex came in with JJ. JJ had his head on Alex's shoulder and he was asleep. That night, according to Gibb, she was in JJ's room because her boyfriend was there at that point. So JJ slept in Lori's room, which is interesting. That's the night he was killed. I always said she had a hand in it. And we go into what I believe is the timing of maybe when JJ was being killed. Her boyfriend had a bad dream in the early morning hours, and Gibb wanted to ask Lori and Chad to give him a priesthood blessing. She tried to text and call Chad with no response, and the same with Lori. She did go to Lori's room. That door was locked and there was no response. Gibb never saw JJ again after Alex brought him in. Lori did talk about that Social Security money she was receiving. One of the things regarding JJ is Lori said he was acting out more. And the weekend Gibb was there, Lori said JJ was acting possessed. One minute he was upset. The next minute he would be talking intelligently. She said Lori seemed to be troubled with the thought that JJ was possessed. She told Gibb she wanted Kay, JJ's grandmother, to have him, and told Gibb she would meet Kay at an airport. Lori said she would tell Kay she had cancer and see if they would take JJ or if a relative would want to take him. Gibb admitted to helping Lori come up with the idea to say she was sick to get Kay to take JJ. Lori told Gibb she spoke to Kay and gave JJ to her. They met at the Salt Lake City airport where Kay got JJ. We know that's a big fat lie, but Kay would have been there in a heartbeat had she been called. Chad called Gibb in November of 2019. This is the day of the welfare check. Gibb was in Utah, and Chad told her the Rexburg police were going to call and ask about JJ. He told her not to answer the phone because Lori told police Melanie Gibb had JJ. She said he sounded nervous on that call. So Gibb asked if he was with Kay, and Chad said no. Later on, Lori also called her. She said Lori was very upbeat, not a care in the world, and told Gibb she was protecting JJ because Kay was trying to kidnap him. Lori told Gibb to go to the movie Frozen 2. It was in theaters at that time, and told her to take a bunch of pictures of random kids to make it look like she had JJ. When law enforcement called Gibb, she didn't answer because she said she didn't know what to do. Later on, she did talk to law enforcement. She lied and told law enforcement she did have JJ, but he was back with Lori. Gibb was told by Alex Cox, Lori's brother, that law enforcement were dark, translated beings. The day she was going to talk to police, she got a call from a friend who was an attorney. She shared what was going on, and the friend suggested he should call in a welfare check. I've never heard of this, and I've never seen any documentation this happened, but that was new to me. Finally, she told law enforcement everything she knew without an attorney present. Around Thanksgiving, Gibb and David were on a road trip, and they decided to pull over and call Lori and Chad to pray for them. A day or two after Thanksgiving, Gibb saw Alex in person and expressed concern for JJ. Melanie and Zulema were there. At this point, Zulema and Alex were married. She asked Alex if she wanted to know where JJ was, and Alex told her no. On December 8th is that call to Chad and Lori. Melanie Gibb recorded that with a cell phone. She did that on her own. So they play the call December 8th, 2019. Chad and Lori are in Hawaii. I'm going to play this now.
And I am calling Chad Daybell's phone number. And hopefully I will be talking to both of them, Chad and Lori. So here goes the phone call.
Speak, Melanie.
Hi, Chad. Hey, Lori. Hi.
Hey, let me put on speaker.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We're enough with the phone. How are you guys?
Okay, how are you doing, babe?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I was wondering, where are you guys?
We're just hanging out.
Hanging out? Are you in Idaho?
We're in Idaho.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind, Lori.
Yeah,
honey. I want to know, you remember we talked about JJ going to Kay's house, and you told me they went there, and now he's not there? I was wondering what happened.
Well, I had to move him somewhere else because of her actions. So
Was she doing something? Like, was she trying to come get him or something, or like trying to kidnap him?
well, she said that lots of times before, but
Okay. When I asked Chad the other day, I was like, hey, where is JJ? And he said, for my security, he didn't want me to know. So is there a reason I should be in danger to know where he is?
no, it's nobody. It's his danger. It's the danger that there's people after me.
Okay.
So
if you knew, that puts you in a danger.
Well, just in a bad position.
Bad position.
Everybody, if they don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know.
Right. So you're just worried. Okay.
I'm just to keep him protected and
keep you protected.
And keep everybody else.
I appreciate that. Well, I was wondering why you told the police why he was with me.
I just needed to have somebody so I wouldn't have to tell them where he really was, because they were going to tell Kay where he is.
Oh, yeah. So do you think it's like your family, or, like your family, your dad, or, those people?
Family, well, not my whole family, but as you know, most of my family is working against me and with her, basically.
Yeah. Is JJ safe?
He is safe and happy.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Are you afraid of anything? Like, are you afraid to tell me that you're just afraid that that I could be in danger? Like I don't, like, if I knew, like, how could that hurt me? I don't understand how that could hurt me if I knew where he was.
Well, I'm just not telling anybody so that nobody has to say where he is or get questioned to where he is, so I can keep him as safe as possible.
Yeah. Okay. I hope that he's okay. I hope you guys are okay. But I did have a question that I asked Al at one point, your brother, if I wanted to know, like where he was, and he said I did not want to know, and that he could not be found. So what does that mean?
I don't know if he would say that, but it's the same story. Like I don't even want Al to know. I don't want anybody to know, so that nobody has to be worried about it. I mean, nobody has to be questioned about it, so he can be safe.
Yeah. So how long are you gonna be away for? Like, are you ever gonna be able to come out and come back to society again? Or are you gonna keep, come back? What does that look like?
I will do whatever the Lord needs me to do every day. So
I just wondered if I was ever going to see you again.
Absolutely, you will.
Okay, so maybe when they're done chasing you, you'll be able to come out of. You think they will come out again, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a ridiculous thing for them to be working with Kay to find me. There's nothing that's gone on that's. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're working with her in some dark capacity. The police are working with her in some dark capacity. There's no reason for them to be after me. in the first place.
Hmm. Yeah. Has she threatened you at all?
Yes, lots of times.
Oh boy. Like, what did she say?
Well, it's in emails and everything. So
So, like, she said she was going to come take them, or she was.
there's a lot of things,
Yeah.
Nellie.
I know it sounds like it. I'm just worried for you guys because, you know, he's missing, and you know.
I know exactly where he is. He's perfectly fine.
Okay, well, I hope so. I have a scripture I wanted to share with you, if you don't mind.
I'd love it.
I was thinking about some of the things you guys have gone through, and I saw this scripture today, and I want you to
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question about the scripture. Okay. So, did Alma turn himself into King Noah, or what was he required to do?
Well, King Noah was incredibly wicked.
Yeah.
So he fled his evil ways, which is adultery and living riotously and breaking all the commandments.
Right. So what was he required to do, Alma?
He had to go and flee so that he would be safe, and then help other people realize how, you know, jacked up the system was and the government was.
What about Moroni? What was he required to do at the end?
To carry on those plates and bury them. That was his responsibility.
What did he have to do to do that? What did he have to do to do that? Did he hide?
He had to hide. He had to hide because they were so. Everybody was killing everybody in the society. Everybody was dying. They were killing all the Nephites.
And the scriptures had to hide in the cavity of a rock by day and go out by night.
The prophets did.
They did.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for sharing that with me. Okay, this scripture is just something that may be thoughtful for you. For behold, this is Doctrine and Covenants, section 3, verse 7 and 8. It says, for behold, you should not have feared man more than God. Although men set at naught the counsels of God and despise his words, yet you should have been faithful, and he would have extended his arm and supported you against all the fiery darts of the adversary. He would have been with you in every trouble. So when we work with the Lord and are obedient, He's going to protect us from adversarial darts and all kinds of negativity. But when we open the door to Satan, he comes in and then he attacks. And then he takes away to make it look like somebody else took it away. But that's not how God works. He doesn't work in darkness.
I agree with you 100%. And that's what the Lord is doing for me. Exactly what he's doing for me.
Oh, it just sounds weird.
For darkness, Mel. Darkness is knocking on the door all the time because that's the way dark works with the light. And I promise you that I have done nothing wrong in this case, but sometimes you have to hide in a cavity of a rock for your own life safety. And that's what the Lord requires of you sometimes. And that's how it is. And I'm sorry that's how it is, because there is a lot of darkness on the earth.
I know.
It's been after me for zero reason besides the darkness of Kay, which you already know she's dark.
I haven't met her enough to know if she is dark or not. I've just met her slightly, and she seemed like a normal kind of person, but then I haven't engaged with her that much, so I don't know that personally.
So you don't know about her changing the thing for herself to be the beneficiary of the policy and all that stuff. None of that's dark, right?
Well, I haven't seen those documents, so I have no way of knowing.
I've seen them on my computer.
No, I have not. I haven't even looked on your computer before. You haven't showed me anything.
I don't being controversial to me, or if you're recording this conversation for the police or whatever, I don't know what your intention is on this phone call.
Well,
but I love with all my heart, and I have forever, and I will always love you.
I appreciate those words, but if you really love me, you wouldn't have told the police that I had JJ with me. That's not what a friend does. I mean, that just makes me look weird, and it's not safe for me. That doesn't look good. I mean, you had to think of my welfare if you love me.
I do, and I did exactly what I felt the Lord was instructing me to do. And I appreciate you, and I love you. I never do anything to harm you. And you can have all of this confirmed to you by the Lord.
I have. And my conscience is clear. I feel very understanding what's really going on, Lori. And I believe that you have been very deceived by Satan. I believe that he has tricked you. And I don't believe that what you're doing is correct. I just don't. I mean, Tammy dies, and then your husband died, and then these doesn't sound like God's plan to me. It gives me a gut feeling, like in my gut, it feels weird. It doesn't feel right. I don't have peace about it. I never have felt 100% peace about it. I always felt like a little weird in my stomach about all these things.
You know me, Mel. You know me. This does not sound like you. This sounds like you've been influenced by somebody dark who wants you to believe dark things and have fear of the celestial world.
I don't have fear.
You obviously do.
No, I have a peace of conscience and I can see clearly.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I love you so much.
I know you do. I don't know what else to say.
Stand Christ when he comes again, and he's coming soon, and we will all stand there, and you will know at that point that he has supported me and has supported me the whole time, and I have not been deceived.
I just want to testify that I know Tammy must have the conspiracy theories. My sister-in-law's right behind it all, and I hope that you're not being influenced by that dark team.
I don't know who she is. I'm sorry, you said your sister-in-law? I don't even know her.
I know, but she's coming up with the same type of theories. Mm-hmm. And it's just not true. My own children were there. They testified that Tammy had been getting weaker and sick, and I begged her to go to the doctor. Her heart was failing her. She was physically falling apart, but she hates doctors, and she just passed away. That's how it happened. My son Garth was right there with me the whole time. My kids were at the house within 20 minutes of her passing. There were 2 coroners. They checked her out right there on the bed. All these conspiracy theories just make me sick to my stomach. Just absolutely sick. I know I've been told for years that Tammy would pass away at a young age. And I had no idea that Lori would even be a part of my life. I just knew that my life had 2 segments. And that I know Tammy's on a special mission and she's with my kids. She's visited them. There's so much, Melanie, that you just have to have faith. And this is not some sort of master plan. There's no way Lori and I should ever come up with this. It's just...
You can understand my concern, correct?
I can from an outside perspective, but from someone who knows as much as you know, no, not really. But we can feel Dave's influence on you. I can feel that for sure.
He's a very good man, and he has a very strong foundation. That I know.
I know, but he seems to be the one that's putting the doubts in your mind.
No. You know what? I have come to understand that my gut feeling, I was not listening to it. And I always felt uncomfortable with many things.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry that I included you in those teachings then for your own sake, because I wish that you didn't have as much knowledge as you have, because you will be accountable for the knowledge that you do have, Mom.
So are you.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So
I have no fear.
Yeah.
I have no fear of that.
But I really, as I was reading the story of Korihor, and it is so very similar to this. You just can't see it. But he did it because he was trying to reclaim a people. And he thought at the very end, because of his carnal and natural desires, that's what influenced him. And he was very deceiving.
Natural desires?
Well, honey, you got a lot of natural desires. We all know that.
That's what you think is me, Korihor? Are you kidding me right now?
I think both of you have similarities. It's in the scriptures. It's in the scriptures. And the scriptures are very powerful.
Yes, they are. I live by the scriptures, as you know.
I know, but we can wrest the scriptures for our own vain glory.
I wrested the scriptures.
We can do that. And I feel that you have to suit our belief systems.
Do I wrest the scriptures? Is that what you're accusing me of at this point?
I feel that you have.
Why do you feel that way? I need an explanation on this.
Because if you look, like the scripture just here, okay,
scriptures every single day, you know?
I know you read them. I don't doubt that. But this scripture right here says that you will be supported by all against the fiery darts of the adversary. You would have been supported if you had not opened dark portals and dark junk. You would have been safe if you would have obeyed God. He would have had your back. But you have been chased and tortured. And
this or not,
I'm sorry.
He had back. So,
well, if he has your back, you would not be able to tell me where you are, and we couldn't find JJ. Like, where is he? I've been asking, where is he? And you know what I mean? Like, that's
I could tell everyone where JJ is right now, and that would not be good, JJ. So I'm sorry that you don't want me to protect my children, but I would never ask you to not protect your children.
Of course you wouldn't.
So I can tell that you're just adversarial, Mel. I love you. I'm sorry that you feel this way.
Because I actually do care. I'm sharing what I feel for you because I know your salvation's in trouble for what you've done.
Okay, my salvation is not in trouble at all. And I think you should check that with the Lord again.
Oh, I felt a lot of things from the Lord. And this doesn't feel right.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, sweetheart. I'm sorry that you're friends with all those who are against me. Joseph Smith's friends turned against me.
I'm not a friend. I'm not friends with people that are against you.
Apparently you are.
I am not. I don't know Kay. I don't know who you're talking about. Your sister. I don't even know what her name or who she is. I don't know any of those people. Why would they contact me anyway? How would I even know about that?
Well, you're friends with Dave, and he's apparently, you know.
Well, David is a very righteous man, and I've always known that grounding about him. And he has a lot of beautiful experiences with the Lord, and these are not the same. You know, when you get the priesthood, that's Peter, James, and John shows up, and then he confirms all of those in the circle that are to get it, and everybody's a witness of that. Everybody's a witness that the pattern is in the scriptures. There's no witness that you ever receive what you think you received. Nobody has seen that but you. There's no witness. The witness, Joseph Smith, Oliver Cowdery, Martin Harris, the 8 witnesses, they all showed up.
Was there a witness when Jesus, Heavenly Father, gave that to Joseph Smith by himself in the grove? Was there a witness?
No, but they had it later with other people. That was one experience, but others joined in later. When he brought other people into it, they had experiences.
Scriptures, yes or no?
I'm sorry?
Is that in the scriptures, yes or no?
That Joseph was alone when he saw God the Father and Jesus Christ? Yes, he was alone.
He was alone.
But he had to open it up first.
That's not a pattern at all.
Honey, what I'm saying is that after he saw that and other people joined in, they saw the things with him. He wasn't alone. There was a witness for them. There was no witness. Anybody's never seen what you've seen or experienced what you've seen. That is your own witness, but nobody said that.
No, God knows it, and I will never deny it. For my soul would be at stake if I did. So you can say it didn't happen to me, Mel, but if I say it, then I am accountable. You didn't witness it.
Okay,
I did.
But your behaviors is not, okay, I understand that's what you believe you saw, but this is the thing, as I see, is that your behavior is not one of somebody that's in Christ. Your behavior. What?
Never had any idea that you would be the person of all people to try me. I cannot believe
I am asking questions, and I am concerned for you. That is what somebody does when they care.
You don't sound like you're concerned. You sound like you're accusatory. You do not sound concerned. You sound pissed off.
I'm not. I am troubled. Maybe that's the better word. Troubled. Because these things, like you being with Chad before he's even divorced, is unusual behavior for a person that's seen Jesus Christ.
I was with him and he was never divorced.
Honey, I've seen you guys together. So I haven't ever seen you with, I've never seen you with Chad kiss him and walk around the track at BYU with him. I never saw that. You see him?
You were the one just feeling guilty about being with someone before they were divorced.
Oh, honey. I think that's not what we're talking about here.
Wait, it's not what we're talking about here. That's what I'm saying. You are going off the deep end. But
well, I'm just saying this is not a behavior of someone that sees Jesus Christ. It's not the behavior.
Really? Have you ever seen Jesus Christ? So do you know what the future behavior would be if you had seen Jesus Christ?
I know that when I prayed.
Each of you every day, and he does protect me, and he is protecting me, and he will protect me against this accusation as well. And we will both stand there with him, and you tell me if I was lying or not, but we're both standing there with Jesus Christ.
Okay.
And this is where we left off at lunch. One thing I've noticed about Chad watching today, he is looking at that jury a lot more with her testimony, also watching her. He's very active, writing things down, handing it over to John Pryor. So something woke up in him today. And I think that's because this begins the really incriminating testimony against Chad. Gibb was there for all the major events. Episode 2 will be out sometime later tonight after the track meet, and I get everything recorded. Until then, hope you guys have a good rest of your day. We'll see you soon.